Imagine you just bought this incredible state-of-the-art restaurant reservation software.
Okay.
Like, it's this beautiful, elegant system, right? Everything balances perfectly. And on paper, it happily accepts, I don't know, 500 dinner reservations for 7 p.m. on a Friday night.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. And the spreadsheet is flawless, the revenue projection looks amazing, and the software is basically congratulating itself on a job well done. But there's just one massive catch.
Let me guess.
The physical restaurant only have 10 tables and 2 chefs.
Oh, man. Yeah, so the second the clock strikes 7, that perfect digital plan violently collides with physical reality.
Exactly.
The servers are panicking, the kitchen is totally backed up, the food burns, and, the customers are furious. So the algorithm succeeded, but the restaurant completely failed.
That exact nightmare, that scenario is happening right now in massive global supply chains.
Absolutely.
Like, beautiful digital algorithms are sending thousands of orders to warehouses that simply don't have the space or the trucks or the people to actually handle them. So today, our mission in this deep dive is to really figure out why these seemingly perfect digital plans constantly fail in the physical world.
Yeah, it's a huge issue.
It is. And we are pulling from a pretty great stack of sources today. We've got case studies, white papers, interview transcripts, and specifically this really fascinating manifesto called Born at the Dock, which is by Tom Moore. He's the CEO of Provisioning.
That manifesto is so good.
Yeah, it really is. We're going to explore how bridging what the industry calls the execution gap is literally saving major companies hundreds of millions of dollars.
Which is wild. And, the scale of this problem is staggering when you consider that the supply chain industry has spent, decades and billions of dollars perfecting the digital side of planning.
Right, like the software.
Exactly. We have these incredibly powerful software suites, things like advanced planning systems, which look at market demand and calculate exactly how much product needs to be in, say, Chicago by next Tuesday. Yeah. But as the manifesto points out, an instruction is not the same thing as execution. Knowing what needs to be moved doesn't mean you know how to physically move it.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And to really understand this disconnect, the sources actually trace the philosophy all the way back to 1992.
Yeah, quite a while ago.
Yeah. And what I appreciate about this origin story is that it didn't start with, a tech startup trying to disrupt an industry from a coffee shop in Silicon Valley. It started on a loading dock with a very physical problem.
It was Procter Gamble, right?
Yes, exactly. Procter Gamble came to Tom Moore's team, which at the time was a company called Transportation and Warehouse Optimization.
Right, and P&G didn't ask for a shiny digital transformation. They didn't want buzzwords.
No, not at all.
They had a concrete operational headache. They needed to figure out how to take semi-skilled or even completely unskilled warehouse workers and have them pick cases of product and load them onto outbound trucks.
Which sounds easy, but it's not.
It's really not, because they needed it done efficiently, completely legally regarding highway weight limits, and obviously without damaging any of the merchandise.
Right, which sounds straightforward until you are the actual person standing on the dock, staring at a mountain of totally different products.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just throw boxes into a 53-foot trailer and hope for the best.
Yeah.
The visual that stuck with me from the reading was the cardinal rule of don't put the bricks on top of the eggs.
Yes, the bricks and the eggs, because the physics of a truckload are incredibly complex.
I mean, I never really thought about it.
Most people don't. You have heavy cases, you have light cases, and crushable items. And you have to fit them onto wooden pallets, then fit those pallets tightly into a trailer so they don't shift during transit.
Right, so they aren't just flying around back there.
Exactly. And critically, you have to make sure the weight is distributed legally across the truck's axles. A truck has to survive braking and cornering for hundreds of miles on the highway.
Wow.
So in 1992, P&G essentially wanted to automate that deep tribal knowledge required to do that. They wanted to make it so that any worker on any shift could do it consistently without the truck snapping in half or getting fined at a weigh station.
And that hands-on history, that's what the sources refer to as Provisioning operator DNA.
Yes, operator DNA. I love that term.
Yeah, because the software was built by supply chain operators who understood the grease, the grit, and the literal heavy lifting of the physical world. They weren't just technologists looking at a spreadsheet.
And that operator DNA is really the missing link in most traditional planning systems.
How so?
Well, the corporate systems sitting in an office tower somewhere, they simply lack that physical awareness. Yeah. In one of the interview transcripts we read, Tom Moore offers a fantastic analogy for this.
Oh, the movie one.
Yeah. He notes that a traditional supply planning system just goes blindly on its way, maximizing customer service, and it frankly doesn't care about capacity limits or costs. So he compares the software to Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn about your warehouse capacity.
Exactly.
Funny image, right? Like a piece of software just putting on its hat and walking out the door while the warehouse burns down behind it.
It is funnier, but the financial implications are massive.
Oh, I bet.
And that leads us directly into this concept of the execution gap. Because those digital systems don't care about physical limits, the burden of reality falls entirely on the warehouse workers.
Right.
The manifesto puts it perfectly. It says the warehouse is usually where the bill arrives.
Where the bill arrives. Man. So when an unconstrained plan is released by the corporate office, it looks entirely feasible on a monitor.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Right. Every cell on the spreadsheet is populated, every order has a date attached, and the theoretical inventory balances out perfectly. But when the operations team receives that file, they discover the physical network required to actually perform. That plan simply does not exist.
Yep.
So that void, that space between the digital instruction and the physical capability, that is the execution gap.
That's it, exactly.
And I think people outside of logistics, I mean, I know I used to do this, they assume warehouse capacity is just a static math problem about square footage.
Oh, 100%.
You look at a huge building and say, well, it's 1 million square feet. We have plenty of room for these boxes. Just put them in there.
Right.
But the sources make it super clear that storage capacity, meaning having a physical steel rack available for an incoming pallet, that's only one tiny dimension of a warehouse's true capacity.
It's a very common and honestly very dangerous illusion to equate square footage with operational capacity.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, the reality is that a warehouse operates on several different capacities, and they do not automatically scale together just because the building is big.
Okay, so if it's not just physical space, what are the physical constraints that actually break the plan?
So throughput capacity is a major one.
Throughput, okay.
Yeah. This involves the staging room on the floor and the actual physical dock doors. You might have thousands of empty racks in the back of the warehouse, sure, but if you only have 5 dock doors, you cannot physically load 20 trucks at the same time.
Oh, right, it's a bottleneck.
Exactly. Then you have equipment capacity. Are there enough functioning forklifts? Are the batteries charged?
Wow.
And crucially, labor capacity. Do you have enough people clocked in on this specific Tuesday shift to pick, wrap, and load this sudden massive spike in volume?
So it's all these moving parts.
Right. So when a digital system dumps a massive end-of-month order on a facility to hit a sales goal, all of these physical capacities are stressed simultaneously.
And when they are stressed, that is when the people on the floor have to step in and literally save the day.
Yes, the manual heroics.
Yes. The industry seems to rely heavily on what the sources call manual heroics. It's a veteran loader who knows exactly how to turn a pallet sideways to make it fit, or the floor supervisor who pulls the entire crew into mandatory weekend overtime just to get the backlog of trucks out the door.
Right.
And we tend to praise that kind of firefighting as dedication, employee of the month stuff. But the manifesto argues this is actually a toxic cycle. They call it planning debt.
Planning debt. It is perhaps the most profound concept in the entire manifesto.
It really stuck with me.
Yeah, because supply chain professionals are incredibly resilient, right? They're conditioned to rescue broken plans. It's just what they do. But when a team repeatedly has to repair an impossible plan after it's been released to the floor, the organization accumulates planning debt.
Just like credit card debt.
Think of it exactly like financial debt. You are paying exorbitant interest rates every single day because of a bad initial investment in the plan. And over time, these expensive manual workarounds, they stop being emergencies and just become the standard operating procedure.
I imagine that debt isn't showing up as a neat line item on a balance sheet called bad digital planning.
Oh, definitely not.
Right, it's hiding in plain sight. It's hiding in that mandatory overtime budget.
It absolutely hides in the margins. It looks like supply chain managers relying on expensive spot freight.
What is spot freight exactly?
So spot freight means you are calling up last-minute, non-contracted backup trucks at a massive premium because your regular preferred carriers rejected the sudden, unpredictable spike in volume.
Oh, okay, so it's surge pricing for trucks.
Exactly. And planning debt also looks like local managers building road Excel spreadsheets to act as shadow planning systems because the official enterprise resource planning software, the ERP, is so totally disconnected from their daily reality.
That is wild. But the example of planning debt that blew my mind the most from the reading was artificially lowering the target weights for the trucks.
Oh, yeah. This one hurts.
It really does. Because the loaders on the floor can't reliably figure out how to fill a trailer to its absolute legal maximum without going over the axle limits, management just throws their hands up and says, okay, let's only aim for the trailer to be 80% full just to be safe.
Just to avoid the fines.
Right.
Right.
So the company ends up paying full price to ship empty air across the country, all because the digital plan didn't provide executable instructions.
And here's the worst part. When shipping 80% full becomes the standard work, that planning debt becomes totally invisible to the executive team.
They just think that's how trucks work.
Right. They just assume that's the unavoidable cost of doing business. They don't realize they are bleeding margin on every single truck that leaves the dock.
So how does a company stop paying that interest? How do they start passing these impossible, unconstrained plans down to the physical dock?
Well, the manifesto proposes a new standard that must be met before any order is finalized, which Tom Moore calls the dock test.
The dock test.
Yeah. The dock test strips away all those digital illusions. It demands affirmative answers to 5 critical questions before a replenishment plan is allowed to become a committed order.
Okay.
It essentially forces the digital system to respect the multidimensional physical execution we just talked about.
I think to really visualize this, let's trace a single pallet's journey through this dock test to see where the digital plan usually falls apart.
Okay, let's do it.
So first, the pallet has to actually leave the building. Does the warehouse even have the physical space, the functioning dock doors, and the people to grab it today?
Right, so that is the origin question. That's question 1. You are checking the real-time constraints of the shipping site, not just the theoretical inventory count in the software.
Got it. Okay, but once that pallet is finally on the dock,
Right.
you hit the next hurdle, which is transport.
Exactly. Question 2. Can this pallet be moved with committed carrier capacity at a viable cost? And importantly, is the volume being tendered, meaning offered to the carrier network, is it stable enough that the carrier will actually accept it?
Because a trucking company can't just magically manifest 10 extra trucks and drivers overnight just because your software asks them to.
No, they have physical limits too.
Right. So assuming you have the warehouse space and you actually secured a truck, you reach the third hurdle, which is load build. And this is where the physics lesson really comes into play.
This is the tricky one.
Yeah. Can the load be physically built? Is it legal by gross weight, legal by the cube space, meaning the physical 3D volume of the trailer, and is it stable?
Yes.
And the sources provide this vivid example of a 45,000-pound load that perfectly illustrates this trap.
Oh, the 45,000-pound load scenario is the execution gap in a nutshell.
Walk us through it.
Okay, so imagine a routine replenishment order for 45,000 pounds of mixed product. The corporate ERP system checks the maximum gross weight of a standard trailer, sees that it can hold roughly 46,000 pounds, and says, yep, approves the load.
Right.
The software marks the order as completed and on time.
So the digital system is literally setting a trap for the physical workers.
Precisely. Because down on the physical dock, the workers start loading the pallets. But because of the specific mix of, let's say, heavy liquid products and much lighter paper products in that specific order, it is mathematically impossible to distribute that 45,000 pounds legally across the truck's axles.
So the total weight is fine, but the balance is wrong.
Right. If you put all the heavy liquid pallets at the nose of the trailer, the gross weight of the truck might technically be fine, but you will snap the front axle or fail a weigh station inspection and incur massive fines.
Oh, man.
So the load is physically trapped on the dock. The digital system declared success, but the laws of physics said stop.
Which means someone has to, break down the pallets, replan the load, and call a second truck to take the overflow.
Exactly, which incurs massive extra costs and delays.
Ouch. Okay, so that brings us to the fourth hurdle of the dock test. Destination. Because even if you legally pack the truck and drive it across the country, can the receiving site actually absorb it? Do they have an unloading appointment, an open dock door, and the labor to receive it before the product is needed on the shelves?
And if it survives all of that, all 4 of those hurdles, you face the final and perhaps most important question: repeatability.
Question 5.
Yes. Can any shift execute this plan? Can you hand this plan to a brand new operator on their first day, or do you have to rely on that 120-year veteran loader's secret tribal knowledge to make it fit?
The manual heroics again.
Exactly. If the answer to any of those 5 questions is no, you are actively creating planning debt.
Understanding the dock test makes perfect sense on a micro level. But when you are a massive global enterprise moving thousands of trucks a day, you can't have a human being sitting at a desk manually verifying axle weights and dock door schedules for every single order.
No, you need an army of people.
Right. So to pass the dock test at scale, they have to fix the flow of product before the spike ever reaches the warehouse.
And this is where we transition from identifying the problem to the actual technological solutions in the sources.
Okay, let's hear it.
To fix the flow, companies implement an upstream solution called level load.
Level load.
Think of level load as an AI-based network capacity planner. It acts as the bridge, or like the translator, between digital intent and physical reality.
Does it replace the current software?
No, and that's key. It doesn't replace a company's existing systems. It sits on top of them.
Okay, so it pulls data from all the systems we've mentioned, right? The advanced planning system generating the demand, the ERP managing the business, the transportation management system handling the trucks, and the warehouse management system tracking the inventory.
Exactly. It ingests the realities from all those systems, looks 30 days into the future, and creates a capacity-constrained deployment schedule.
So it knows the limits.
Right. Traditional systems might look at a monthly demand of 300 loads and just blindly divide it by 30 days, or worse, allow massive, chaotic spikes at the end of the financial quarter to hit targets. Level load actually models the physical bottlenecks of the entire network.
I really like the river analogy Tom Moore uses to explain this.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah, he points out that a river has banks, and those banks represent demonstrated physical capabilities. If your warehouse has historically never successfully shipped more than 7 loads a day, you simply cannot let the digital planning system schedule 12 loads for next Tuesday.
Right.
Because if you push 12 loads of water through a river that can only hold 7, the river floods.
And you've got a disaster.
Right. So level load essentially acts as a dam, keeping the flow within the banks of the river.
It's the perfect visualization. By constraining the flow to what the physical network can actually handle, level load eliminates what the industry calls sawtooth volatility.
Sawtooth, like up and down spikes.
Exactly those massive panic-inducing spikes in volume followed by idle dead periods. If the AI sees a bottleneck forming 3 weeks out, it proactively pulls forward high-priority shipments into the current week when capacity is available, and it delays less urgent shipments, all while ensuring customer service levels are maintained.
That makes so much sense, and the financial impact of smoothing that flow is just staggering. The case studies note that Kimberly-Clark implemented level load and achieves a 60% reduction in deployment variability.
60% is huge.
Massive. And that operational stability translated to roughly a 4% reduction in their total deployment freight costs.
Which for a company that size is millions and millions of dollars.
Right. And the best part is that it's additive software. A company doesn't have to rip out their multi-million-dollar SAP installation. Level load just acts as a protective layer that makes the existing system respect physical reality.
And by acting as that protective layer, level load really solves the first 2 questions of the dock test: origin and transport.
Oh, right, because it smooths the flow.
Exactly. It ensures the shipping warehouse actually has the time, space, and labor to do the work, and it provides the carrier network with a stable, predictable volume of freight they can consistently handle without resorting to expensive spot market trucks.
But getting the right number of trucks to the dock doors without flooding the warehouse is really only half the battle.
That's true.
If level load is the traffic top keeping the network flowing smoothly, you still need an architect to physically pack the trucks themselves. Because as we saw with that 45,000-pound axle weight disaster, the actual loading process is where the fines and the delays happen.
Yep, down on the dock.
So this brings us to the downstream solution from the sources, which is Auto O2.
Yes. So once level load ensures the right product arrives on the right day, Auto O2 determines exactly what goes on each specific truck and precisely how it gets built.
How is it different from older software?
Well, the fundamental difference between Auto O2 and legacy load building software is the mathematics of the optimization. Older software typically applies rules sequentially.
Sequentially. Okay, so I was thinking about this, and sequential optimization is kind of like packing a suitcase by putting all your pants in first, then your shirts, then your shoes.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right. But by the time you finally get to the shoes, you realize you've completely run out of room and you have to pull everything out and start over.
That's exactly how legacy software works. It looks at constraint number 1, let's say total gross weight, and it solves for it. Then it moves to constraint number 2, maybe the cube space, and adjusts.
It does them in order.
Right. And as soon as it stumbles upon a configuration that technically doesn't violate a rule, it stops calculating.
It's done.
It's done. The problem is, settling for the first acceptable answer leaves a massive amount of usable payload space empty on the trailer.
It settles for okay instead of doing the hard math to find perfect.
Precisely. Auto O2 doesn't settle. It evaluates over 300 parameters simultaneously.
300 at once.
All at once. It is looking at the pants, the shirts, and the shoes simultaneously. It calculates axle weight distribution, stackability rules, product segregation requirements, the interior dimensions of the specific trailer, and the crush strength of the bottom cases, all in the same mathematical breath.
That is insane.
It uses advanced heuristics, meaning specialized problem-solving algorithms and AI to find the true geometric maximum legal load for every single trailer.
Okay, I understand the math is brilliant, but I always question the fragility of these perfect AI plans when they hit the actual concrete floor.
What do you mean?
Well, if you have an AI crunching 300 variables at once to create the absolute perfect, tightly packed 3D jigsaw puzzle of a load, doesn't that just create an incomprehensible nightmare for the forklift driver who actually has to build it? Like, what happens when reality intervenes?
That is exactly where the operator DNA we discussed earlier truly shines. Auto O2 does not hand the warehouse worker a complex mathematical puzzle.
It doesn't.
No. It translates all of that simultaneous optimization into simple, step-by-step visual load diagrams and instructions sent directly to their RF scanner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it literally guides the picker through the build, telling them exactly which pallet to grab next and exactly where to place it in the trailer to ensure the axle weights balance perfectly.
But what if a forklift breaks down or a pallet of product is suddenly missing from the rack?
The system dynamically recalculates the load plan on the fly. It adapts to the physical reality in real time, rather than forcing the warehouse worker to improvise and guess.
Which completely solves the final question of the doc test. Repeatability.
Exactly.
You have successfully taken the complex tribal knowledge out of the veteran loader's head and embedded it into a repeatable, scalable system. Any worker on any shift can execute the mathematically perfect load.
Yep.
And we have undeniable proof of this from the case studies. Riviana Foods, which is America's largest rice producer, they deployed Auto O2 across more than 10,000 annual truckloads.
That's a lot of rice.
A lot of rice. And by mathematically maximizing the space, their trucks were fuller, resulting in over $1 million in annual freight savings.
Wow.
But the statistic that really highlights the elimination of planning debt is that they achieved a 75% reduction in loader training time.
A 75% reduction. That means they are no longer relying on manual heroics.
Right.
The system provides an executable plan, and the physical operation simply executes it. The execution gap is completely closed.
It's a profound shift in operational philosophy.
It really is.
To synthesize all of this for the listener, the core lesson of the Born of the Dock Manifesto goes far beyond moving pallets of rice or paper towels. It's the realization that knowing what your strategy is completely useless if you don't mathematically understand how your team is going to execute it.
You have to plan with execution built in.
Yes. So think about your own business or even your own personal projects. Where are you accumulating your own planning debt? Are you designing these perfect, beautiful strategies on a digital spreadsheet that completely ignore the physical, emotional, or practical constraints of the people who actually have to do the work?
We constantly fall into the trap of assuming the spreadsheet is the reality rather than just a flawed model of reality.
Exactly.
But, if we connect this evolution to the broader trajectory of artificial intelligence, it raises a truly provocative question for the future.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Well, right now, we are utilizing AI systems like Level Load and Auto O2 to meticulously map our physical constraints so we can adapt our digital plans to fit the real world.
Right. We are constraining the math to respect the physical dock doors and the standard 53-foot trailers.
We are forcing the algorithm to play by the rules of the physical world. But as this agentic AI becomes exponentially smarter, and as it processes millions of loads and learns the geometric nuances of every physical limitation, could it eventually flip the script?
What do you mean? Flip the script how?
Could the AI transition from being our logistics coordinator to being our architect?
Meaning it stops optimizing the load and starts optimizing the physical environment itself.
Exactly. Instead of just telling us how to perfectly pack a standard 53-foot trailer, the AI might process the global network data and realize that a 51.5-foot trailer built with a completely different axle configuration would increase global network efficiency by 12%.
Oh, wow.
Right. It might stop telling us how to intelligently route product around a poorly designed, bottlenecked warehouse and instead generate the physical blueprints for a completely new, geometrically optimal warehouse layout that human engineers would never have conceived.
So instead of adapting the digital plan to the physical world,
Hmm?
AI might soon redesign the physical world to perfectly match the digital flow. That is an incredible thought to end on. The AI shifting from solving our physical problems to redesigning the physical constraints entirely.
Yeah.
Suddenly, those 10 tables and 2 chefs from a restaurant reservation nightmare aren't just constraints we have to work around. The AI is actively redesigning the kitchen layout and building new tables while the guests are walking through the front door.
Exactly right.
It definitely leaves you with a lot to consider regarding how the digital and physical worlds will continue to collide.